those who know me well know that I am terrible at resting, at stopping, at making sure I have days off. And I think that's even harder at the moment. I don't know about you, but with home working, I find that it just bleeds into everyday life so much more. I find that I'm cooking tea and doing some work at the same time. I find that I'm looking after children and answering a phone call, or juggling all sorts of different needs with their schooling, as I'm also thinking about my work.
So rest, we're both quite busy people, and in our culture probably busyness is valued higher than rest. But I was really struck recently when I heard someone talking a bit more about rest, and how at the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, the story of how God made the world, and on the seventh day God rested. And that blew my mind. That I knew that, but to think of it that even the creator of the world would rest, I think there's something significant that perhaps we should think about a bit further.
One thing that I found quite useful thinking about rest was reading a book by a guy called John Mark Comer. And he kind of said, if you think of yourselves as almost like a battery, and your battery runs down, you get tired, you get overburdened, and so you kind of rest to recharge. But the point he made was that normally we recharge to about 10%, and then we carry on going because there's jobs to do and things to be done. Whereas actually I was really challenged to try and recharge my battery to 100%, because it's only then that I can be the best version of myself. And when I'm fully rested and fully myself, that's when I'm in the best position to help other people and to do good things.
And so often we're so busy trying to achieve, to consume, to buy stuff, to be bettering ourselves, that taking a rest means just pausing some of those things, stopping doing the online shopping and the Amazon shops, and just being content and in the moment. That's something that I've been really challenged by, just to think, to be in the moment and enjoy that time.
And I think it's useful to think about rest as almost restoration or restoring. So what it is that kind of brings you back to yourself. And that doesn't have to be sitting in a dark room surrounded by candles. One thing I find particularly restoring is going on cycle rides with some friends for a few hours, and I come back and I'm generally feeling much more myself.
Lots of people during lockdown earlier in the year and now are appreciating nature so much more. There are the trees to look at, especially now as the leaves fall, beautiful settings to go to. Maybe that's where you find your rest. Maybe you like to just sit and contemplate and just look at a wonderful setting and feel rested. Psalm 23 says that the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. This sounds like rest, rest in creation, rest being led by the one who is our Lord, the shepherd.
When I find some space, I find that I'm able to be a bit more reflective. Something that I've been really challenged about recently, probably by our children, is how much time I spend on my phone and how distracting that is. So I'm trying really hard to have some time without it, so that I can reflect about who I am, what the world is like, and then having fully rested and had some space with my own thoughts, I'm able to face the world and the next day a bit clearer headed and more able to function and be useful, really.
Sometimes it's when we rest that we realise how we're actually feeling as well. Rest can be vulnerable, it can make us feel vulnerable. Sometimes when we stop, we realise those things that have been bothering us. Rest reminds us that we have an identity that is different from our work. So by stopping work, we can really tend to the people that we are. And we are more than just working people, or people juggling different needs around us. In Matthew chapter 11, Jesus says, "Come to me, all who are weary, and I will give you rest." I think that is a fantastic invitation, and it makes me think about how the invitation is for each and every one of us, but it's to be with Jesus, to know him, to walk with him, to learn from him as well. And this invitation means that we can have real rest. And I wonder if that rest comes in two ways. The first way that it comes is that Jesus helps us with our burdens. And the picture of this in Matthew chapter 11 is that we will be yoked with Jesus. So that's like one of those things where we that you have on your shoulders that carry a burden, and that it fits on us alongside Jesus, so that together, side by side, we carry those burdens together. So it's no longer just me on my own doing life and finding ways of managing things. Suddenly I'm doing life with Jesus, and that means my work and my family stuff, and it also means my rest. He's going to show me how to rest, and even in the work and the stuff I carry, it's going to be lessened because he's helping me and he's carrying it with me. And the second way that I think we have rest in Jesus is one that is far more a kind of internal one, something that we're dealing with in our heads, and that is around our identity. I know that my identity is firmly in who Jesus says I am. Therefore, I don't have to worry day to day thinking, have I done enough? Am I enough? Am I enough for my family? Am I enough at work? Am I enough for my children? And what about the future as well? And what about all that I've done in my past and all of those things? Well, actually, we are enough. My identity is purely in Jesus. And that is so freeing. And that feels restful, because I'm not having to strive and earn and make sure that I am always doing enough and being enough, because suddenly he says, Sarah, you are enough. You are, because of me, you are a child of God. You are dearly loved. And you're dearly loved before you've even done anything, before you've achieved anything. You are dearly loved. And that is a wonderful thing to work out of. And that is a wonderful thing to live out of. And it feels entirely restful, actually, when we are secure in who we are and what our identity is.
So there's only a few thoughts on rest. We'd love to hear what anyone else has, or any top tips or any suggestions. Okay, thank you.